I was sitting at a coffee shop table, and across the table from me was my buddy David. David, you should know, is a retired naval officer, and now he's a highly respected faith leader and business coach. He is the definition of success. He has a beautiful family. He's an amazing father. He has real estate investments. He's deeply generous. He's entrepreneurial and creative. Faith is so important to him. David is somebody I deeply respect. And at this coffee shop, sitting across the table from each other, we weren't talking about, naval warfare. We weren't talking about business success. We weren't even talking about faith or any of that stuff. Now, this wasn't a meeting with an agenda. We weren't exchanging slide decks or business cards. We weren't planning or strategizing or visioning. Now, at this coffee shop on this particular Wednesday morning, I think it was a Wednesday, we were just being together, sharing space with each other, leaning our elbows on that table between us, filling the air around us with care and stories and questions and support. I don't remember the details of the conversation, but I do remember my soul feeling full afterwards. And I remember this passing thought about that table that we had been sharing. So I came home and I wrote the opening words of my book, Cathedrals of Connection. Here's what I wrote. This table between us is holding a lot. 2 warm drinks, our half-eaten pastries, half-eaten only because there's no time to take a bite when we're both so enthralled in the conversation. It holds our elbows and the full weight of our compassionate energy and rapt attentiveness. It's an altar, this table, crafted of the same wood that could have ended up in a traditional church pulpit, shaped from the same tree that could have ended up a cross hoisted high atop a steeple, formed from the same timber that could have ended up carved into a sturdy but uncomfortable pew. Instead, it sits here in this coffee shop, inviting you and me to use it as our shared chancel, our lectern, and our worship space. I've shared so many experiences like this, not all in coffee shops, of course, but in so many other ordinary spaces, over the walls of cubicles with coworkers, in cramped airplane rows with strangers, on long hikes among jagged peaks, sharing gas station snacks on long road trips with friends, at the bar of some airport hotel or on the sunny patio of some European winery, beside the bed of my dying hero, my grandfather, in the rowdy stands of my favorite team's gigantic stadium, at a simple picnic table in a roadside park. See, church, for me, is simple. God's presence is always palpable when I remember how sacred shared moments are. Sacredness isn't bestowed from a distance, it's recognized up close in the space between us. There's a famous story in the Bible, Luke chapter 24, verses 13 through 35. Soon after Jesus is crucified, 2 of the disciples are walking down a road away from Jerusalem toward a town called Emmaus. As they're walking, a third person shows up and walks with them. They have no idea who it is. They're consumed with the drama of what just happened. They're chattering about the news and the gossip surrounding the big events of what just happened in Jerusalem. They're probably a little panicky and afraid. They're distracted by the noise of their big story. Their attention is fixed on the buzz and the hubbub and the scandal and the rumors surrounding the end of Jesus' life. They simply do not recognize the person walking with them. Spoiler alert, it's Jesus. Anyway, they walk along for a while and eventually stop for the evening. And in the story, they make this one really important choice. They urged him strongly, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over." See, they invited him in. They chose to share space with him. They sat down at a table with him. The table was made of wood. It was a table that could have been carved into an altar or an ark, a table that could have been shaped into a pulpit or a pew, a table of wood that could have been carved into a crucifix, but it wasn't. It was a table, and they sat there with their guest closely. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened and they recognized them. Luke 29:30. Only there at the table with the man they had spent the whole day with, only then when they chose to turn and look at the man they'd been walking beside right in the face, only then when they slowed down and took a breath, only when their attention shifted from the abstract gossip to the real flesh and blood across from them, only when they chose thankfulness and marked the table as sacred, only then did they realize they were already in the presence of God. God had been there all along, just waiting to be noticed. That coffee shop table between my friend David and I, it held a lot that day. It held our lattes and the crumbs of our blueberry muffins, but it also held our whole lives for a few brief moments. We shared our hearts and our stories and our dreams and our fears. We shared a connection so sacred, time seemed to stand still. And when we left, and I thought about that wooden table between us, I realized I had sat in the sanctuary of my favorite church that morning, and nothing about it looked like a church. It was the simplest church on earth. It was a temple of togetherness. It was a cathedral of connection. Something ancient, something eternal, something divine had been there all along. I just had to learn how to notice it. Take this message into your life this week and fill the space between you and every person you encounter with God's love. My favorite church is the space between people. Now go with God's love and create the church between. And hey, thank you so much for supporting the launch of this book, Cathedrals of Connection. This book is an arm of the ministry between. This book shares the same message, the same DNA, the same heartbeat, the same blessing that Between is built with. And you all have been so supportive, whether you bought a copy or sent me some encouraging messages or you told people about it in your life, whatever. I just need you to know I really appreciate it. It's hard to put a book out into the world, and I'm really proud of it. And anyway, thanks.